You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Michael Langford.
Thanks for joining us on Open Agenda this week. I'm Michael Langford, your host. With me in studio is Mayor Randy Taylor from City of Salisbury. And Michael Peronsky, also from City of Salisbury, Chair of the Parks Advisory Committee for the City of Salisbury.
Thanks for having me.
Randy, we are starting to break ground on new projects and opening new parks for the first time in 10 years. Can you tell me where we're at?
Yeah.
How we got there?
I would say it started about a year ago. We kind of went through a little inventory of where we were on a lot of these parks, and the first improvement we made, I think, is at Doverdale. We redid the playground equipment there, which was a big plus for that neighborhood. We did some work over at Lake Street, which was also an ad, and we started some programs with April Jackson. President April Jackson's running some programs over there. The most recent of which is now Woodcock Park. If you've seen that in the Facebook postings we've had, but we're replacing all the equipment. That's a playground that's been there for a couple of generations, at least several generations. It's been a big part of that neighborhood, which all playgrounds are, neighborhood-based playgrounds are, and they're a vital part of keeping that community healthy and attractive for homeowners and renters alike, for kids in general. And then the last, most recent, is the Waterside Park, which has been a long overdue project, which President Jackson is very much glad about. We're making some headway. We're ready to build a two-member bathroom with an awning, so they'll have some indoor space for undercover space to enjoy the playground in that area. So for which we're going to do a community center down the street, which is going to be another ad called the West Salisbury Community Center. So we're making a number of investments, I think, strategically to help support neighborhoods and kids.
Awesome.
In the city.
Yeah, it sounds like people could, I guess they'll be able to, through the city, like rent that space at Waterside Park in order to do like a celebration, whether it was a church or a family or whomever,
Birthday
right?
parties,
Right.
whatever they want. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Mike, turning to you, your focus on the Parks Committee, I know in that advisory role, what are some of the things of where you want to see us going?
Well, I just want to applaud the mayor for taking the step to ensure that we are continuing to fulfill the promises that we've made to different neighborhoods. So the Waterside Park is a great example of that, where for a long time we've committed to making improvements to that park, and we've just not seen a lot of results. We've gotten some incremental steps along the way, but I think this is a real transformational moment where we're making a serious investment, not just in the park, but in the neighborhood with the addition of the community center. The great opportunity there is that we're really going to transform that space into what could be a recreational hub where people can go and they can do all types of different activities. It's not just going to be basketball courts anymore. There's going to be, I think down the road, hopefully, what we'll see is a lot more recreational opportunities in that neighborhood. And I think that's what I'm most interested in, and our committee as a whole is most interested in, is how do we expand access to recreational opportunities for everyone that lives in our community. So we look at it sort of holistically, not just, does a park need sort of an update, but how are we making sure that the parks that we have and the amenities in those parks are serving the whole community? So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think one of the things that I've tried to transition from an administrative standpoint is that if you guys need something, if it's a $500 thing or a $1,000 thing, if it's a lighting thing, if it's putting nets up at a basketball court, that's something you just pick up the phone and we make provisions. Somewhere, somehow, we make a provision. Just like we were talking about over in your neighborhood, around your basketball court. Those are little incremental things that make a difference to at-risk kids all across the city. I mean, I was one of those kids. I fortunately went to the Y as a kid, but had I not had those places to go in the summertime, they're recreational swimming, basketball, outdoor. For me, it was tennis, but it's a thing where you can't replace that in a kid's youth. And so where Waterside is, it's near Pemberton. It's the school, Pemberton, the apartments, Waterside, and Mitchell Landing. All of that's right there. So in the summer months, you'll have an outdoor park, plus you'll have the community center to support those kids. And I think that's and make it also accessible to the adults as well. in some ways.
Absolutely.
That's what we're hoping to make as well.
Yeah.
So, so question for you. What about, I've heard about North Prong Park. I know this is more further out, but isn't that like they're cleaning up brownfield sites?
Yes.
How does that work?
So we've got a number of conceptual designs. We've actually picked up some additional property, which we'll know more about going forward on Lake Street, and we've got a number of options to do there. But one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to screen it in. We're going to and begin to demo the site, so to clean it up. It's just sort of sat there for like 10 years, more than that, as these little acquisitions have occurred. So we're hoping to, by the end of the summer, have it cleaned up and be in a position to begin to build back.
Okay. Are the is that cleanup the funds for that? Is that coming from the municipality or is that coming from the state?
It's coming from a brownfield site.
Federal
funding.
government.
Federal
I think there's, I think the
Okay.
actual number is about $1.7 million
Yep.
from the federal government to remediate that brownfield's location. So really what they have to do is remove structures from the site and then remove layers of topsoil,
2 feet.
2 feet of topsoil to remove, and then do extensive testing for quality assurance testing to ensure that they've removed any contaminants from the site. And then they can add back to it, backfill.
Yeah.
So that process, I believe the city has to complete work on that by 2027, middle of 2027. So
Okay.
really, I mean, that park in earnest is probably close to four years away in terms of actually seeing a completed project there. And now is really a great time for us to re-engage the community adjacent to that site to begin to hash out the types of amenities that the neighborhood wants to see there, and how can we serve broader goals like environmental justice goals, habitat restoration goals, to improve not only air quality but water quality in that area. There's some really interesting work that has been completed in other parts of the state where they've taken industrial areas like the Baltimore Harbor and created habitat there, and you're seeing wildlife return and making positive contributions to the to distressed waterways.
I think one of the things we're doing, we're trying to incorporate across Isabella over to the Johnson's Dam property, which, by the way, is just going out to bid now. So we're hoping this spring to fall, we're going to be doing the Johnson's Dam repairs as well to get that another project that's sitting on the sidelines for like 7 or 8 years. So that'll be forefront, and we'll get that done. But that's a beautiful side of town. If you've ever walked back in there, the city, we just have never taken advantage of that site as a site for potential park space or for a river walk.
Yeah, there's one of the really one of the things that I think our committee can do more of is introducing people to different parks and different assets that are incorporated into the park's umbrella. So when you talk about Johnson Lake, there's a number of neighbors over in the Newtown area that use that lake for recreation, but there's also the Rose Street boat ramp.
Yep.
That is a city property, and it's a
underutilized.
And there's some, I don't know exactly what the opportunity is, but there's certainly opportunity there to bring people together to enjoy the water and enjoy that tremendous asset that we have here in the city.
Agreed.
No, I think that we do have a lot of great parks in the city, and I think that it sounds like the utilization of those. I mean, a lot of times when I've met a lot of people that come into the area, people are like, there's nothing to do or there's nowhere to go, and I often speak to like parks, even parks like Pemberton outside of the city, but in this area, like there's just a lot that people can do, but it's maybe not presented as such. So it's like maybe there's a public education component of and just kind of like that people even know that that's there.
Well, I looked at a meeting I just had this morning. This is an example of the city park. If you look at the city park, where is the entrance to the park? There really is no pronounced. So what we're working on is a pronounced entrance to the park, with an arbor that kind of celebrates our history, that designates tells our story, with a bricked entranceway that comes to a landscape in addition to the pedestrian bridge, which again just went out to bid, and we'll get ready to restore that as well.
Wonderful.
But the whole idea being is that, the park is sort of nondescript from the standpoint of entrance and enjoyment platforms. It should be much more elaborate in that regard.
One of the ways we can get there is really by strengthening the connections between parks and neighborhoods. So that's an area where I see we have a lot of opportunity for improvement, in that when you go to Woodcock Park, the ribbon cutting is this Thursday, actually.
Yeah, that's it.
So when you're there at the ribbon cutting, I encourage you to think
I'll
about.
be there.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I encourage you to just do a 360.
Yeah.
So, and look at the area how children in the neighborhood will access the park, and think about things like crosswalks, lighting, signage, even in the adjacent streets that both direct you to the park, but also make sure that you can get there safely.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I think a renewed focus on pedestrian safety, in particular to access to these park resources, because, as much as we would like to think that people respect the neighborhoods, not everyone that drives through the neighborhood lives there. So when children are playing and going to the parks, we need to make sure that they get there safely. So, if you take, for example, access to SU from the neighborhoods, there's illuminated signs, crosswalks. There's all kinds of signals that alert you to the fact that there's pedestrians in the area.
Yeah.
I don't know to what level we need that in the neighborhoods for our parks, but I think we can do a much better job of connecting even just something as simple as a crosswalk, signals to people in the area that, hey, look, this is how you get from point A to point B.
I'm glad you brought up the subject of lighting, because in the City Park project, that the second or the primary phase of that is doing park lighting, which we've never really adequately had. I mean, the lights that are there.
Yeah.
So we'll be probably doubling up the number of lights, the amount of looms that are going to be cast over. It's going to be an armed base light, which is going to, Victorian style, that casts on the path. We'll be uplighting the trees with some consultative, respect to the bird life and other things. So we'll be uplighting some of the trees in the park, so that the park in general will become much more lit, and as a result, make it much safer, in my view.
Yeah, I'm a person who, I've lived out in the country before, but running College Park Apartments, I have it lit up with LED stadium lights at night. Really? Maybe that's not the best thing for the birds, but it is the best thing for public safety. And if you want people to utilize a space, they're going to have to feel like it's safe, and being well lit is part of that.
Yeah. Well, I like more of the warm 3000K lights, but I guess instead of the LED. But
sure.
But at the end of the day, I think it should be a romantic light, but well lit is at the same time.
And I think if you look at what people have said that they want for the city park, lighting and public safety in general, but lighting is a primary one. And I'm glad that it's getting done, and I wish it didn't take the better part of a decade to get there. But we're reaching that point.
I never understood. When I looked at the plans, I was like, "Well, how is this taking so daggone long?" We've earmarked it out.
It was in the CIP many years ago, and it went out of the CIP, and there was really no reason for that because the project wasn't done. And the priority was still there.
Yeah, I get it.
And it was even documented in the City Park Master Plan. So it's exciting that we are getting back to that point where we're identifying priorities and actually accomplishing them.
Well, a couple things. So we're not only putting the lights back, we're doing the uplighting, we're doing the bridge, and we're now doing an entrance, which I think is going to be one of several we're going to try and incorporate. The first one being sort of the demarcation standard of how we're going to enter the park. We'll have one from East Main as well eventually. But for now, we'll start with this sort of as the model, as the entrance points with a brick entrance, and it'll be tiered so you can walk down without just going down a hill. But that'll be all those, and I think
Accessible.
yeah, and I think there's through Greater Salisbury, we're going to be partnering with them hopefully to do some more exciting things with as it goes to Picnic Island and the annual Christmas lighting and all of that, which is a lot of interest. So we're just trying to throw all those resources into one bucket and get it moving forward.
This all sounds great. A lot to look forward to in the future. So my question to both of you in turn is, how can people get more engaged? Like as far as if they want to have a say in these plans, if they want to make an improvement to the parks, how can they connect with the city and do that?
Well, for as the mayor's office, you're welcome to write me anytime through email or just tell the mayor. Attend a council meeting is another option. I think the important part is that, listen, I've got a really, really good team, our executive team and now our projects team, who's just really working well together. We are trying to full board get all of the projects that we can that are funded, under construction and along the way. There is no grass growing under our feet in that respect. So we're trying to do what we can. We can't do it all. We're trying to do more in the way of infrastructure. We've done $1 million last year. We'll do another $1 million this year, more than we've done over the normal budget to get that stuff done because we were way behind.
Yeah.
That all said, in terms of if you're willing to help, join the committee. Let us know where you're thinking, what your expectations are, but recognize that we're not your enemy. We're your friend. We're trying to do our part to make the city better. So
that sounds great.
And in terms of, we welcome anyone that wants to join the Parks Committee. We totally welcome new members, and we are meeting bi-monthly on the second Thursday of the month. So our next meeting is in April, and one of the ways that we're hoping to make just a small contribution to the parks is by updating the gazebo at the Boundless Playground. It's parts of it are fine, and other parts of it. So the main structure is in good shape, but the railing and the bench is in disrepair. So that's going to be one of the projects that we complete with some of the funds that the City Council this past year set aside in the budget for committees like ours. And then one of the things I would say, additionally, to get involved, I think I just welcome the mayor and his team to just open up the conversation for planning for big projects like the North Prong Park and some improvements to the city park. We want to be a part of those conversations, and I think ensuring that the folks include public engagement early in the process as more of institutionalize the idea of public engagement as opposed to making it a checkbox that says, yes, we've sent the email and move on. So we're looking forward to that. And I know that, Alan, he comes from recreation. He has a recreation background. So I'm excited that he's now working alongside you to see through some of these goals.
Yeah, and a great example, and I mentioned it earlier, but like just so you made that suggestion about the project announcement with a QR code. I mean, I really didn't think about that. I mean, oh gosh, that's true. But a lot of people care, or are just curious as to what's going on. I think it's
the everyday user just doesn't. Someone that's visiting and they see and they see a project going on, they may not, they may be like, what are these people doing here? Yeah, and it's just a really easy tool for communication that doesn't take. It takes a lot of emails out of your inbox.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say is that as a simple suggestion. It took it right away and went, you know what? That makes total sense. Nobody's looking for credit here. Give him the credit for it. Who cares? It's a good thing. Yeah. So that could happen 100 times with people that just want to get involved. They don't want to be involved in a committee. They just make a suggestion. You go, you know what? That makes some sense. Let's try.
Yeah, let's look on how to execute
run
that.
It by the committee and let's talk about it. Yeah. Or the administration.
Yeah. No, and I think by taking that and by people having a chance to engage more, I mean, you're adding a layer of transparency. Yeah. When you make it a standard operating procedure that people have public input instead of like this once in a blue moon or we're going to have a town hall to, go on and on about it.
Well, for example, like you have an interest in Frisbee golf.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know anything about frisbee golf. I mean, frisbee golf, I'll play it, but I don't know anything about it. I mean, but that's a whole experience. There's a bunch of folks that do enjoy it and like it, and so you got to have an understanding of what that sport looks like and what that is, so that you can curtail that and make that park friendly.
Sure. Yeah, and one of the things that we see is that there's so many opportunities for to engage new park users, and being open to those opportunities, I think, is a great place for the committee to receive feedback from the community. The world's changing rapidly, and the idea that we'd have a whole site dedicated to pickleball is people probably would have laughed at you 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And the county has made a significant investment in pickleball.
Yeah.
Now that brings in people that are young and people that are retired and everyone in between to play pickleball, and it's happening in Ocean City right now. And our committee is, and the city in general. I mean, I think everybody who really cares about creating a place where everybody wants to come and live and raise a family, they're really interested in hearing about all of those new opportunities. I mean, because what it helps to do is show you some blind spots that you may have had, and I mean, it's great.
That basketball corridor and the pickleball at Harmon Field has created way more activity than Harmon Field ever did, even in its heyday, because it was a seasonal sport for one time a year, and we've got Parker now.
Yeah.
So I guess the point I'm making is that, to your point, it's always evolving, and we can always do things a little bit better, and I think serve the community better.
Sure.
No, I think, when you talk about community, a lot of times we're so focused in our society on work. I mean, a lot of times, you're here in part talking about your work. But, I mean, I think that the parks are all about play, and that's a major part of recreation. A 40-hour work week, you've got 168 hours in a week.
Sure.
So the majority of your time is still free. You know what I mean? And it's like, and how you play, your recreational time is important to your quality of life. And I appreciate both of you for coming in with me today and discussing this issue. Thank you for tuning in to Open Agenda, and stay tuned for our next episode.